We recently released a short about how Henry Emily from the FNAF series is a moron, and I truly believe this to be the case, and many of you in the comments agreed. However, there was one question that really made me start thinking. Aurelia Pillay under the short asked, how stupid is Henry, and also, who allowed the franchise to continue on without any of the owners, not even Michael or Charlie survived? And you know what? That's a good enough question that we're actually exploring it today. Alright, let's do it. FNAF 6 was supposed to be the end of the Afton story, okay? That's what Henry sets out to do in this game. That's the whole point of the game. Make sure that nobody remembered what happened there despite the parents of the victims definitely remembering. However, this dumb figured that the first fire didn't work, so you know what, let's try it again. And in fact, he was so confident in this plan for whatever goddamn reason that he actually lets himself die in this process to leave nobody remembering what happened. But like I said, dude, even if Henry and William are dead and their kids, okay, the parents of the victims still remember what happened. And as we learn in Security Breach, there are other parents who remember it too. Because there's duffel bags citing the 9 missing children from the Pizzaplex as happening, quote, again. If Henry had stuck around to see if the job was really done, like around a maybe like Hearthstone or I don't know, literally anything else, maybe William wouldn't have been able to possess Vanny and then come back yet again to wreak havoc. The Pizzaplex missing children are a direct result of Henry just being a moron, and you can't tell me any different, okay? He should have lit the place up, smashed everything that survived, and then maybe he could have offed himself, but make sure the job's done first. God damn it, dude. Like, maybe even wait a few years to make sure that it's done, especially when this hasn't worked multiple times before. But you know what? Therein lies the question. Most of Henry's issues come from him opening the restaurants again and again. He even licenses the rights to people who make the FNAF 3 location possible, but after FNAF 6, how could Fazbears reopen as the Pizzaplex, especially after both Henry and William are considered dead? Well, typically the next of kin would be considered the children or spouse of the deceased, but we know that both Henry and William have no kids, well, that survived, and at the very least that William has no wife. So assuming Henry's wife isn't in the picture as well, what could have happened to the Fazbear rights and intellectual property? Well, as I said in a reply to Aurelia's comment, if the deceased person has no children, the next of kin will move to the parents. After this point, the next of kin includes collateral heirs, or siblings of the deceased. Collateral heirs can also refer to nieces and nephews. So in essence, what that would entail would be giving the IP to the parents of William and or Henry, most likely Henry because William would have probably been declared dead before this after being missing for 30 years come FNAF 3, but if their parents also weren't in the picture, which would be understandable since like in FNAF 6 Henry would be like 60 at like the youngest, so his parents are most likely dead at that point, let's be real. So then we'd have to think about any siblings Henry may have, and it is certainly possible in the game story since thanks to the Silver Eyes we actually got confirmation that Henry has a sister named Jenny. Jenny Emily, otherwise known as Aunt Jen, is a character in the novel The Silver Eyes, The Twisted Ones, and The Fourth Closet. Being the sister of Henry Emily, Charlotte is her niece. After the passing of Charlie's father, Charlie was actually taken and cared for by Aunt Jen. However, you may think that this is all solved. It's not, because there's one caveat. Aunt Jen was killed by Circus Baby as she was impersonating Charlie in The Fourth Closet. Spoiler alert, but I mean, even I haven't read the books, so I don't think you'll care at this point. Everyone who's going to read the books has read them, so. And seemingly, Aunt Jen didn't really have any children of her own, so unless there's some random extra brother or sister out there that we haven't heard about, Henry has no living relative. So what happens after that? Like, if there's no actual family? Well, in the event that the court cannot determine who your next of kin is, guess what? Oh yeah, everything you've worked your whole life for becomes property of the state. Yeah. And with Utah typically being a red state, you best believe they'll be selling that IP to whoever wants to pay enough to actually reopen Fazbear Entertainment. This also would explain why William keeps getting away with everything, because I'm guessing, especially in this exaggerated form of story, the police must have been pretty easy to bribe. So yes, after William is declared dead, the company would have gone to Henry, but since Henry has no relatives remaining, at the end of FNAF 6 at least, the IP of Freddy Fazbear and his friends would have gone to the state of Utah, which would have been sold or licensed to whoever bought it, because, you know, they wanted to open the Mega Pizzaplex, which is a whole other question in and of itself, because, like, they ended up building it right where Afton needed it to be, so who really bought it? That's a question for another day. And unless Michael somehow had a kid of his own and then the state decided to give it to them, both of which are unlikely, since it would have been Henry's company after that, or even if it didn't go to Henry 100%, Michael still didn't have any kids. The state would definitely be the ones who would own the franchise and would sell it to the highest bidder without a second thought, because let's be honest, literally any state would do that despite the amount of kids who have died in these restaurants. Also, fun fact, at the time he dies, Michael Afton is like 50 years old. Because assuming Michael is a teenager, or at least closer to it, in FNAF 4, that takes place in 1983, then FNAF 1 takes place in 1993, so at this point he would be at least 20, considering everything else. Then the place closes down and doesn't reopen for another 30 years until FNAF 3. So by FNAF 3, he is already 50. Michael is already 50 years old in FNAF 3, and then however long it takes for them to get to FNAF 6 after that. So Michael Afton is at least 50 years old, which is actually insane. So who knows how old William is? I don't want to know. But there you have it. Okay, that's how Freddy Fazbears reopened so much, and that's how it's still around even after everyone associated with the company has died. Not everyone who remembers Henry should have really thought that one through, but what a wonderful world we live in, huh? If only Henry had named someone that he trusted as the CEO, so that none of this could actually reopen or continue. Oh wait. That's right, you burned the one person who also wanted all of this to end and never happen again. All because you assumed that he wanted to die so that nobody would remember. Hey bozo! The parents of the victims remember, and a load of other people do too. It was kind of a big issue in your universe. So, Henry will forever and always be the dumbest character in FNAF history, and you can't change my mind on that, okay? Because no matter what stupid things William has done, at the very least he got away with it. He got the outcome he wanted. Henry's just dumb. And that's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been in Showerman Connor Moreau, and I'll see you in another video unless Disney buys the license to my face and then puts me in the next Star Wars. It's a joke there for the Star Wars fans.
I won't fail you.
I guess you're not fans anymore, though. Assuming he's a teen, and actually, can you pause the script, please? Because I'm gonna rant a little bit to up the runtime. Everyone who's going to read the books has read them, so. And also, Aunt Jen seemingly didn't have. And you know what? That's a good question. And you know what? That's a good enough question that we recently released a short about how Henry Emily. Christ, already. We recently released a short about how Henry Emily from the. Sorry, I had a speed walk here. Because I was coming off my break, and I'm like, I have to make sure that I do this earlier than like normal, so I can actually like get back and not miss this film slot for once. Yeah. You're right, that wasn't professional. That was sexy.